What's up, everybody? My name is Josh LaFleur from Late Start Piano. Today, I'm going to be giving you the exact blueprint, the exact roadmap for you to make sure that your practice sessions are as efficient as humanly possible. So, this is really targeted towards the adult beginner piano player. You have no experience and you decide you want to now play the piano and you're not really sure how to practice. Maybe you've binged, watched a bunch of YouTube videos. Maybe you tried to learn on some kind of method book about how to practice. Maybe you asked your friend who used to play piano 10 years ago. Whatever it is, this is going to be the definite guide. These are going to be the principles of practicing, principles and strategies of your practice routine, what it should look like, and why, so that you can get as good as fast as possible. So without any further ado, we'll get into point number one, is you need to plan your practice schedule ahead of time. So what does that mean? It means, what it doesn't mean is you should not be just sitting down at the piano and playing whatever you want. It's not about just sitting down and thinking, okay, what do I feel like playing today? And then playing that. It's not doing something random, basically. You're not practicing random things. So when you sit down at the piano, you should have a plan in place already for exactly what you're going to do and for how long. Especially if you're an adult, you probably have a lot of other things going on. Maybe you have a full-time job, you have a full-time business, you have a wife and kids, you have a husband and kids, whatever it is. You may not have a lot of time to practice. So the time that you do have to practice, you don't want to be wasting that, which is why having a plan is so important. Just as a general outline, one kind of strategy that you can use to develop this is I always say that 4 days a week, 20 minutes per day, that's the bare amount of time that you should be practicing to make noticeable improvement. 4 days a week, 20 minutes per practice session. And this is at a minimum, so you can kind of adjust this based on where you are and how much time you have. But you can do 5 minutes of a warm-up / technique. So something that would hit both of those, that would warm up your hands and your fingers and work on technique at the same time. You can do things like scales. You can do things like arpeggios. You can do things like Hanon exercises. You can look at YouTube and pull some kind of random piano exercises as well. Whatever it is that gets your hands moving, your fingers moving, and has you work on your finger dexterity and hand coordination. So I would say the big three: scales, Hanon exercises, and arpeggios. You can do 5 minutes of that. That'll be your warm up and your technique. Then the next 10 minutes, you can work on your piece. So if it's a song that you're learning by ear, if it's a song you are using sheet music to learn offline, if it's a method book song you're practicing, use your next 10 minutes to actually practice the song itself. Last 5 minutes, you can do something fun. So that's kind of like your free time, but it's your scheduled free time. So you can continue to work on the piece if you want. You can try to maybe learn a couple new chords. You can try to improvise, make up your own thing. You can work on ear training. Maybe you play two keys and try to figure out the distance. Maybe you try to play a song or a beginning of a song just to see if you can. Whatever it is, that last 5 minutes, you can do something fun. I call it ending on a high note, because you want to end your practice session with something fun, something positive, so that you can come back the next day ready to rock and roll. Point number two is you need to respect your plan. So point number two of what quality practice looks like is you need to have a plan and then respect it. So what does respecting the plan mean? It means turning off notifications on your phone. It means trying to find a place where it's just you. So I'm fortunate enough where I live, I have my own office space. So this office has a door you can see right behind me. I come in here, I shut the door. No one else is allowed, no significant others, no pets, nothing like that is allowed during my practice time. That's my time to practice, my time to work on things that I want and to get better that way. If you don't have an office space, if you're not as fortunate or you're just not in a position where that's possible for you quite yet, I would try to do something like hang up a curtain. Maybe if you have to divide the living room or divide some kind of living space, maybe hang up a curtain so it's separated. You can try to practice early in the morning. So maybe you can't have a separate room, so to speak, but maybe if you get up a little bit earlier, nobody's awake, so nobody's there to distract you. You can do that as well. But the point is, you want to respect your time. So you don't want other people intruding on your practice routine. You don't want to be scrolling your email or social media or taking phone calls when you're supposed to be practicing. That's your time to practice. Respect the schedule that you made for yourself, and the results will come guaranteed. Point number 3 is, again, you need to be focused. So, yes, you need to eliminate distractions, but you also need to be focused on what you're doing. You don't want to be practicing your scales, for example, and all of a sudden you find yourself kind of daydreaming. You're thinking about what your day is going to look like. You're thinking about what your day did look like if it's the end of the day. You're thinking about some other chores or some other errands that need to be done. If you catch yourself doing this mid-practice, just stop, take a moment, take a deep breath, reset, get back focused in, and actually think about what you're doing. Use your brain and figure out what you're doing so that you're locked in and you have that mind-body connection. So important on the piano. It's not all about moving your fingers or any kind of physical movements for that matter. A lot of playing the piano, especially in the beginning, when you don't have that muscle memory down, is using your brain. It's actually thinking about what you're doing. So make sure that you are focused in your practice routine. Point number 4, as I touched on this a little bit earlier, but no matter what you decide your practice routine to look like, you should have the big 3 that I just mentioned. You should have some kind of warm-up, some kind of technique practice, and then the actual piece work. If you have a little bit more time, more than 20 minutes, I would recommend some sight reading as well. Sight reading is just taking a brand new piece of sheet music you have never seen before and trying to play it instantly. It's not going to be perfect, especially in the beginning, but that's the goal. The goal is to be able to recognize patterns and recognize symbols in music instantly so that you can take that skill and learn new pieces a lot faster. So if you do have time, I would say it's a big 4. You can do warm-up, technique, piece work, actually working on the song, and sight reading. If you're kind of strapped for time, then it's a big 3. It's the technique and warm-up, which is built into one. You have your piece work, and then you have that ending on a high note, something fun, that improvisation. So you can kind of customize this. Again, this is really up to you based on your situation, what your goals are for the piano, and how much time you have. But these principles and guidelines are just here to help you figure out the best practice routine. Of course, you ultimately have final say as to what your practice routine looks like. Point number 5 is this is for the self-taught piano players. So if you don't have a teacher, you don't have some kind of group that you're in, you don't have anybody holding you accountable or giving you feedback, you need to create your own feedback because feedback at the piano is crucial. I promise you that there will be a time that comes sooner rather than later when you are practicing a piece, you feel like you have it down pat, you stop looking at the sheet music and you just play it. And then maybe one day you pull up that sheet music and you say, wow, I've been playing an A here the whole time. It should have been an A flat. Or some other example, you're going to realize that you've been playing the wrong note. I guarantee this will happen. Sooner than later, this will happen to you. And this is dangerous if you don't have a teacher who can catch it. So what can you do? You can record yourself. You can do just like what I'm doing. You can set up a selfie camera, some kind of ring light. You can position the phone holder to the side so that it has your view like this. You can actually see yourself playing the piano. And you'll be able to hear the wrong notes. You'll be able to hear a wrong note that you played. You'll be able to hear if you leave a note too early. Maybe you accent a note consistently. Maybe you don't hold on to a note for long enough. Maybe your rhythm off, your phrasing is off. Maybe your dynamics, they're not too good right now. It's hard to tell all of these things if you don't have a teacher and you're kind of playing in the moment. So that's why recording yourself is so helpful because you can help yourself catch mistakes and you can make sure that what you think that you're playing is actually what's coming out. It's actually the sound that's being produced. Because sometimes those two are in conflict. Sometimes you think what you're playing is perfect, but when you actually listen to it or somebody else listens to it, you find that there might be some mistakes. And on the other side as well, you might find some good things. So maybe you didn't realize that your crescendo is actually really, really good. You're doing it gradually and it's going at that mezzo forte level where it should be and it's perfect. So you can kind of give yourself some props. But recording yourself is so important, again, especially if you don't have a teacher. You need to be having some kind of feedback. That's going to be the fastest way for you to improve. And the last point here is, just to summarize it, it's really about how you practice. So I know I just told you you need to have a plan, you need to follow the plan, you need to be focused, all of that, which is all true. But my last point here is you need to be practicing. So even if you said, Josh, I think you're wrong, I don't care what you say, you're completely off, I'm not going to do anything you said, at least get this one point. This one point being you need to sit down and play the piano. So even if you don't want to do the structure, you don't want to record yourself, you don't want to have a plan, you don't want to do a warm up, you don't want to end on a high note, any of those things I just said, at least be sitting down and playing the piano. Even if you don't have a plan, you don't have anything I just said, as long as you're sitting down and practicing, at least for 4 days a week, 20 minutes per day, you will see noticeable improvement in your playing within a month. So even if you don't have a plan, you just sit down and you're literally trying to figure out everything by yourself. As long as you do that for 4 days a week, 20 minutes per day, you will still improve. So I don't want you to overthink this. I don't want you to become some kind of mad scientist and you're in a lab trying to find the perfect practice routine and you're trying to piece together all these different pieces everybody else is saying. The main point is to get good at the piano, you need to play the piano. It's as simple as that. So with all that said, I do have a free guide on my website, again, completely free. It has 34 essential tips for the adult and beginner piano player. In this free guide, we talk about practice strategies, some more practice strategies. We talk about your mindset and approach. We talk about music theory. And then at the end of it, we walk you through your first song note by note. Again, that's completely free on my website, www.latestartpiano.com. Link will be in the description below. In addition, if you want to take it even further, if you are more serious about the piano and you want to be able to play your favorite songs faster, impress your family and friends, unlock your creativity on the piano, if that's you, then send me an email, latestartpiano@gmail.com, and we'll set up a day and a time to give you some lessons via Zoom. So I am offering lessons right now via Zoom, one-on-one lessons. Shoot me an email, latestartpiano@gmail.com, if you are interested in that. Happy practicing. My name is Josh LaFleur with Late Start Piano.